Hey there, and welcome back to the show. We have Amber as a guest today, and I can't wait for her to share her stories, her motivation and inspiration for business owners, whether you are six-figure, seven-figure, going to eight-figure. Amber and I met at a live event a few weeks ago, I think about 3 weeks ago. She was a participant in the Great American Speak Off, and we sat next to each other. We were both in hot pink, had great conversation for a couple of days and then met the week after. And I asked her to come onto the show and share some takeaways and her story. She's got a really unique story that I think you guys will enjoy. So grab your cup of coffee or water or tea and enjoy. Amber, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, most definitely. First of all, Kim, thank you so much for having me in this space. I'm just grateful to be here and I look forward to this conversation. And hopefully, someone picks up something a little inspirational for their own endeavors along the way. About me, yeah, my name's Amber Ybarra. I have been an entrepreneur for 11 years. More importantly, I am a daughter, I am a big sister, and I've just been on this beautiful but wild journey. A lot of where I start from is kind of going back into my teens. I started off as a professional curves model, and I did that for a little bit. That really opened my eyes to traveling the world and really just kind of dipping into different cultures. And that's where I found my love for travel there. And after that, I did a 360, decided to start a construction company with my then partner. I've been a woman in construction for 11 years. Yes, I still own technically a general contracting company here in South Texas called Cityline, Finsco, and have an amazing team there. And this last 2 years, I've been a full-time coach and now speaker. So it's been a wild ride. I feel like I have finally found my life's purpose, right? I'm now 36, and I used to ask myself, like, okay, who do I still want to be when I grow up? And I feel like I found the thing I want to do forever. So I'm really grateful for that. And getting in the room with people like yourself who are doing the thing, who are walking the talk, just it really inspires me. So my hope is that in the work that I do, I can also inspire others who are looking to really ignite their passion through the self-development journey.
Mm, I love all of this. Construction is what caught my attention at first. Whenever you first said that, I was like, wait a minute, right? Do you get a lot of that, like woman
I
in
do.
construction? Like you kind of like to break the rules here.
You know, the interesting thing is, I used to never tell people that I owned my construction company, especially because I started it at 24. I had this weird fear or this imposter syndrome thought that would creep into my mind saying, how would people take me seriously if they knew that, this $25,000 contract that they're giving us, really this, 24-year-old's going to be running it. And it's really taken time to really just kind of feel into myself, into what I'm capable of. But I realized a few years ago, before I even started speaking, that that is what my mentor called a lean-in moment, right? Finding
Mm.
those lean-in moments. And I thought to myself, why in the world would I not share with people this is what I've done, right? I used to haul 24-foot trailers, okay? Coming from the fashion industry, it's like being on construction sites every day and being in these boardrooms with really male dominated individuals making the call. How could I be better to show up so that they knew I knew what I was talking about? So yeah, I definitely find that as a big lean in moment now. But let me tell you, I used to not, right? I definitely used to not. That was just me wanting to be a person in business. So
I love
that's
that. And I'm wondering because I had a lean in moment like this too, where I didn't really acknowledge I was a business owner. Like I was just like looking to get away from my kids, make some money so I can entertain them. Like it was, that kind of thing. And it was like 10 years later when a friend said, have you, like I was having trouble with employees or finding employees. And she was like, have you thought of a business coach? Or I was like, what is that? Right. So it was
mm,
kind of like me lean in moment where and I had this a few years ago too, when I moved from the brick and mortar into the online and coaching, which we're going to talk about with you also. And it was the moment of realizing, like, holy smoke, you know how when we are self-competitive, we just we just feel like we can never get to the top. And so we're just like, and then all of a sudden you realize like, wait, it's because I'm here. And I think I'm here because my mind is telling me that I'm still struggling. And it was the lean in moment of realizing I had made millions of dollars across from a crawfish lake in front of a hayfield. Like,
Wow.
wait, like I went back and I looked at the year and I was like, this is crazy because I was still thinking I was just trying to get. Have you experienced that through this? Because you talked about like the title of this is like, okay, so you can earn seven figures, but if you don't actually embody the mindset, you can't maintain it.
100%. There's actually a really interesting study I found working with Dr. Laurie Santos, right? She studies happiness at Yale University. And there's this concept called hedonic adaptation, which in layman's terms just means that no matter what high of highs we experience in our life and in our business, or the opposite of the really bad things that happen in our life, whether that's trauma, loss, that process of grieving, eventually we still have our own unique baseline of happiness that we come back to. And really digging into that helped me realize that I need to find more than the next accolade. I need to find and be more than the next thing I'm accomplishing, because that's really what used to drive me when I was younger. When I was young, I felt very, I don't know if any of your listeners have ever felt this, maybe you've felt this before, where you've maybe had a moment where you didn't feel heard, you didn't feel seen, you didn't feel maybe respected in your industry. And the mindset part is what helped me to change my thought of, well, I want to be seen and I need to win first place to be something. And as I had gotten older, just realizing it's really not about that. It's like, who am I becoming along the journey? Because even when, even if I were to hit the eight figures, guess what? There's still another mountain to climb. There's still that, oh, this feels wonderful for now, but what's the next thing? So how are you working to be happy and fulfilled in your life now? Because I promise you, that next thing that you're going to get, it's going to feel great momentarily. And then it's just going to be added to the beautiful list of accomplishments that you've had, but it still is not what makes you you.
It's part of that convincing part, like respected in the industry and your age, right? How much of that has played into a part of like, they're not going to take me serious. Like, like I've got all these things that I've achieved. My son had this experience too, just because he's got the leadership mentality, but they
Mhm.
look at the age, a little punk and, they don't take it serious. And I
Yeah.
feel this way around social media and big followers. Like, I'm just like, I've been at this for 30 years, but I was not born with a computer in my hand. So I do feel like I'm behind when it comes to the followers. It doesn't match my wisdom. And so I'm curious for you, I wrote down young maturity. How has that experience, like, did you get to the point where you got frustrated or did you just get over it? Did someone help you get through the mindset of that? Like where you are the authority. You have done this. You have 11 years where you've actually done this,
Yeah.
but someone's going to invalidate that experience or that authority because of a number or because you look young. How are you working around this for someone who's listening who, because we got a lot of young, brilliant people that get
Yeah.
pushed aside because someone believe, oh, they're just a young woman, a young lady.
I love this question. And I also want to pinpoint that I see as a coach, I see so much of the other side as well. And I want to touch on both for to cover the spectrum of your audience. So there's the young person that, I feel you. I was there and I want to talk to you about how I worked through that of my age kind of holding me back because again, people didn't take me serious. And then on the other side, there are people who are older, however you want to identify older as, who feel like maybe I missed my time. Maybe I'm too late. Maybe they're not going to take me serious because I don't have the following right now. Right. So on either side of the spectrum, I feel like that in itself goes to show that our self doubt sometimes, that negative self talk, doesn't go away no matter your age.
Or your years in business.
Yeah. And so for me, it was like, again, I'm from Texas, right? So one of our sayings is like, the proof is in the pudding. Okay. So it's like, to me, the thing that helped me overcome that was just doing. Because you get to a point in your life where you look back and you see that you've accomplished these things and you have this proof of concept. And then you realize that you don't have to shout out to the rooftops, oh, here I am, this is me. No, but really, this is what I'm capable of. Oh, you don't, I don't need to explain to you what I could do. Look at my testimonials. Look at my client Jennifer that just transformed her life because of a 3-day experience that I created, right? At some point, we have to validate our own selves and stop looking for that exterior validation from other people to realize that, like, yes, we're here for a purpose. And that calling that's like knocking on our soul, it's not the same for everyone. And even if you're in a position to where, because I get this a lot too, Amber, I'm a real estate agent. My industry is oversaturated, or I'm just now starting my brand, and gosh, why would I even think about speaking? Do you know how many speakers are out there? Everyone feels like their industry is oversaturated, but no one is you. No one is going to present that same information the way that you do it and attract people because of your energy and your presence the way that you do. And so I honestly only came through that because I had a massive breakdown one day.
Mm.
I was going through end of 2017. I was going through what I call a business divorce with a former partner of mine. We were both in a relationship and had a business together, lived together, all the things. And we ended up having to dissolve that. And I had to pick myself up from the bootstraps and say, what am I going to do now? Right. And I almost didn't start my own construction business because, well, I don't want to, step on any toes, or what if I can't do this on my own? And I thought, hold on, I'm the one that just closed that $100,000 contract. Hold on, I'm the one that was the face of the business, actually. Like, is that called, like, building a brand? Like, what is this thing? And I got into like this really deep depression, honestly, back then. And going into 2018 was the first time that I had ever even heard of who Tony Robbins was. And let me tell you, from that point on, it changed my life. And coming to where we are now and who I am now, this is why I coach and why I speak. It was a coach and it was a speaker that changed my life and picked me up into realizing, like, what I meant to do in the world. And so that's my only goal now is to hopefully help the Amber from 2018 who was on her girlfriend's couch, like moved out away from her house, zero business after having a multi-million-dollar company, having to start from scratch again.
Mm. So what I'm hearing you say is the self-validation had to happen. Otherwise, you keep walking around the world trying to prove and like stack up rewards. But I did this, but I did that, but you got to hear this. And like it's just this endless trying to prove or get the validation because you don't have the validation.
1,000%.
And the second thing was the permission, like the permission to be all that you are and bring that to the world. Like I love that you brought up the Tony Robbins thing because there's you're saying oversaturated. Coaches think that it's an oversaturated market. I'm like, very few people know what coaching is, even today. Like still
True.
that like or weight loss coaching is oversaturated. No, we need a lot of help. We need a lot more help. Like, wait, you guys got it wrong. And so my favorite thing about Tony Robbins is when he said, my mom did not make Tony Robbins. I did. You
Mm.
can be whoever you want to be. You will make yourself, not your parents, not your environment, not your experiences. You will design your life. That's your date with destiny, right? That's your, like, this is you. So I love that you brought that in together and credit something that a big part of the world doesn't even know what it is. Cause I feel like we're still like, hey, there's coaching. Hey, but but you can get in there like, I don't even know what that is. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so amazing. Like it's the best thing ever. But when someone can take your brain and rewire it and you have a whole new perception on life, like your whole world changes.
Also, it's almost like If you've ever had that moment where something is happening in your life and the first person you have, that first person you call, right, to share the good news with, to ask for advice for when you're feeling kind of mixed up and you're just not sure which way is the right way. This is also where coaching comes in, except you're not having someone that's going to sometimes tell you what you want to hear, right? I feel like a lot of our loved ones do that because they love us so much that they have rose colored glasses on sometimes. Oh, yeah, you did wonderful today in your talk. Cool, but is it converting? Do you have like the desire to make this an actual business? Like coaches just have this different perspective that's non-biased, and they're here to give you that tough love that sometimes our loved ones may not feel like they have the permission to give you, or they want to give you, but that's still their version of helping you in their own way. Coaches will take all of the non-bias out of that and really help you next level and what you're desiring to do and who you're desiring to be. So I'm an advocate, as you could tell. I have so many of my own coaches, and just like yourself, and I just don't think I'd progress as quickly if I wasn't in those rooms.
I wish I would have had it at your age. I'm seriously like, I didn't get it until lots of struggle and experience later. I started coaching in 2012. I'm 55. Like it was after my kids, I was like, oh God, how great if I'd have had this while I had the kids, while I had the kids at home. One of my favorite phrases was from Hope at the Speak Off, the Great American Speak Off, that where we met and we were at together.
Yeah.
I was in the room where she was giving feedback, and she said, "No one's ever gotten better because I told them what they wanted to hear."
Whew. Let's go, Hope Zavara. Yeah, that's good. It's true.
Yeah, I was like, mic drop, Facebook post. like, like thanks for giving me permission for being the chisel, for being the sculpture. Like, because we do live in a somewhat pansy world. There's a lot of like, you don't hurt them, don't break them. It's like there's
Yeah.
this tenderness around. And I was like, but it's just keeping them there longer because it's not them. It's serving that subconscious memory that's not
Mhm.
anymore. And so I don't want to be responsible for keeping that going. I don't want to validate that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and that's a beautiful part of having people challenge your beliefs and who you are as a person, because it's easy to be great in good times, but how are you in the stressful times, right? That's the everyday life of an entrepreneur, right? Is how do we handle that stress? And it only comes from asking the hard questions and being challenged in those ways.
Yes. Thank you for sharing all of this. I'm going to dive into some questions, and that was the great segue, which
Love it.
was, so you have 11 years of this and a switch in career. Can you talk about the roller coaster ride? Was it smooth sailing? Was it all uphill? Did you like just jump on the train and got to your destination? What did that look like?
In my dreams, I jumped on the train and got to the destination.
You're like
I,
just entered it in the
yeah,
GPS and then you were there.
there you go. I was like,
My savings or checking account.
voila, it's here. That's the funny part of sometimes, is everyone has a different version of what success is to them. And, some of the people we look at that are overnight successes, we don't realize it's actually been their whole life in the making. And it definitely wasn't smooth sailing for me. I will say, you know, not to dig deep into the childhood part, but I feel like your upbringing also has a lot to do with it because like I filed for emancipation at 15. I knew I wanted to get out of my household because at the time it wasn't serving me in the most positive way. Granted, I come from parents that had me when they were kids themselves. My mom was 17 years old. And the beautiful part about that is that we're really close and she's my best friend. And I hope and pray to have her for just so many years to come, right? As well as my dad. They're both, in their early 50s. And what's interesting though is that because I left at 16, I graduated early and I took my first year of college all in the same year in my junior year of high school. And that's where my rough patch honestly really also started being in the real world, right? Outside of my small town, outside of my home. And I never really quite knew, to be honest, what I wanted to be. And this is really important. And I actually don't talk a lot about this on podcasts or in interviews. And I should, because I want to encourage the person that still doesn't know what they want to become right now or what they want to do. And I used to get made fun of a lot. People used to say, "Oh, you're a jack of all trades, master of none." And it really used to hurt my feelings until I realized that that's not the end of the sentence, actually. And that just like playing with who you want to be, there's nothing negative about that. There's nothing wrong with it. I was a professional photographer. I was a model and I got to travel the world. I had art shows. I was a painter. I actually sold paintings for thousands of dollars when I was living in Marietta, Georgia, and I was only 21 years old. I got to do hair and makeup for, oh my gosh, forgive me, I forgot her name right now. Go Go Chasing Waterfalls from TLC, that the girl band back in the day. Like I got to do really cool things. And it all led me to what I do today, right? I grew up singing and then I quit because someone told me I was horrible and walked out of a performance. So many things happen, and it's just so funny how now it's come full circle. And guess what? I'm using my voice on stages in a different way, but this is what I want to do. But getting here has not been easy. I feel like you have to prepare yourself mentally for the challenges that are going to come. You have to realize that it's not all going to work your way. And a lot of the time that's beautiful because we can't really see what the lesson is until we're out of the storm. And that's what I learned from the business divorce that I went through. In that partnership, it was also the first time I had ever experienced something like physical abuse from a partner. And I never thought, I was like, but I'm a strong woman. I'm an independent woman. What? This doesn't happen to people like me. And, insert your version of that in the scenario that you've been in that you never thought you'd be living or be part of. And it felt horrible. I was totally victim mentality in the moment. And then I quickly snapped out of it and I was like, no, there's something that I need to discover within myself because I need to work through my self-worth. And like my self-worth and my mindset have only built because of that. And just like I told you earlier, I would have never discovered Tony Robbins and Dr. Joe Dispenza and all these amazing people, the Cardones, right? They would have never been in my radar had I not gone through that situation that I picked myself up, had to dig deep and find the courage to move through and then build again. And here's a beautiful thing about anyone out there that's trying to build something again, and you feel like you keep failing and you keep failing. The only difference with a winner and a person that has stayed a failure is that the failure has completely given up. The winner only tried again after failing the thousandth time, right? And so we have to really work hard to create our own wins and find those winning moments. And also just find those people to lean on in the process too. I don't think I would have gone through a lot of it if it wasn't for, I'm really close to my parents, especially now as I've gotten older, and they're a really big support system for me. I have my key friends, right? I have who I call my board of directors, right? Who, because they're running really great businesses too, and it's like, oh, it's game day. I really need that text from you, like they're my cheerleaders and I'm theirs. And I don't think I would have moved through a lot of it without those pieces, without seeing what I'm capable of. And then along the way, building up that support system, healthy triggers when I have a bad day, things like that have really pulled me through it. But it's definitely not been smooth sailing. And what I do know is that if I got out of that with the most horrible mindset ever, right? I've definitely grown in leaps and bounds. Now with this tool up here, I feel like I could lose it all tomorrow and cool, I'd be starting again, but I'm starting from experience, not from scratch.
Yes, that's it right there. I love that. And that's like for someone who's in the midst of this traumatic event or experience, when like once you've been through this experience one, two, many times,
Mhm.
there's something that happens when you don't quit and you get out of it. I'll see if you agree with this. You might have a different perspective. That I now see it as a catalyst. Like that became the catalyst for the self-worth that was underdeveloped. It was time, like you needed to develop it. So life had to send you something, in order to go through that process. And whenever I can see whatever's going on around us, whether it's something that shuts down the whole country, something that happens in your own business, that even what you just said rings like hit so hard on the way that if you create something yourself and prove to yourself and use your brain, your ideas, and your courage, you will never not be able to do it again, ever. But
Mhm.
we live in a world right now where I'll put my name in the bucket of we's,
Mhm.
think if we get in the right group, right stage, right scene, right thing, that is it. And that's because we've got this popularity thing, or this, these, if you got all these numbers, or if you have this many followers, if you've been presented here, or like there's this thing going on. And I see a lot of new entrepreneurs focusing on that instead of
Mhm.
bringing themselves and their skill set. Guys, that's the thing that'll never be taken away.
100%.
That popularity, that stage, like one comment to the press can crash and burn that stage.
I mean,
We're
look at
seeing
cancel
someone go through
culture.
it right now. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to drop names on this, but I'm seeing a couple of names that are, I mean, they're just coming at them full force. And so when you are focused on that being like how you're going to arrive, or that being like how you're going to gain the popularity or the success or the vision of whatever it is, what Amber's talking about right now, she will never lose, ever. There's not even a threat on planet Earth that can take it away. Nothing can take away the authenticity, the experience, the courage, the drive, the daring tenacity, ever.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you there for sure. And like you just said too, if that's all you're chasing, what happens when that crumbles down? Who are you then? If someone tells you, if you could be swayed in such a way that someone tells you, "Oh, you're not relevant anymore."
Yeah.
Does that mean you give up? Well, maybe if your mindset is of one that says, "Well, they told me I'm not special now." So this is where building, like having those tools to just know within yourself that, some people, and here's the scary thing about whether you're building a brand or on a stage, just getting yourself out there in any way, shape, or form, which I think you're definitely missing out on if you're not, right? Because you can be that one person that's ready to change the world, but if nobody knows about you, then how are you supposed to impact lives? So just having those tools in your toolbox to believe in yourself and believe in yourself alone, and know that some people are going to love you, some people aren't going to like you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That is
That,
okay.
that's one part of it, that it's just math. The more people that know you, the more people that are going to dislike you. I mean, there's just no way around it. So your audience is bigger. There's more people that don't like you. It just is. Um, but when you just said, like, if no one knows you, like if you have a deep desire to serve and to help and to be a part of the impact created on planet Earth, and no
Yeah.
one knows you, like, so there's like, okay, you know that, and you're trying to get known, but then there's this dialogue going on behind your head from your parent. Don't be seen. Don't be like, stay out of trouble. Get out of the radar. Keep below. Like, don't let anyone know. Don't talk to strangers. Like,
Mm-hmm.
be quiet. You
You're
shouldn't.
showing
Like,
off.
yeah. And so it's like that voice is so loud. But if you're entrepreneur material, if you're a business owner, if you want to be self-employed, because I do separate all of those, they're different paths, different journeys. People are going to have to know you, man. I mean, there's just no, people are your customers. There's just no way around it.
No. And it is scary, and I don't ever want to take away from the fact that The people that you see now, the Ed Milet's of the world, right? The Grant Cardones of the world, it's not that they never had fear. It's that they just decided to act on it anyway. And I think that that is what we should all do. And to me, that's where it's the most beautiful self-confidence building thing you could do out there, is to show up for yourself in a big way, right? And if you fall, cool, get back up. You didn't decide to just not be a human that walks because you were fumbling when you were a baby, right? Why would you do that, for this one precious life that you have to have the opportunity to shine? Especially like you said, now that we have the internet, we can now create a global brand, bigger and faster than at any other time on earth.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you not taking advantage of that?
Guys, so would you say it's the decision that made the difference for when we're talking about Ed Milet and Grant Cardone? Do you think it's I know for me, it was the decision. Like it was like, oh, like we're not just saying it, but the action comes behind the decision, the commitment.
Yeah, for me, that was a piece of it. The biggest part for me personally was the imperfect action part, because there are still some things in my life that I'm chasing after, that I still feel like maybe I'm not ready for it yet. Why? Who says I'm not? Why don't I just try? And there are too many times I've proven to myself in the what I call the power of the ask. Sometimes you just got to ask for something, and you'd be surprised when things end up working out because you decided to just go for it, or ask for it, or get rid of the idea that any of this has to be perfect, right? People say, for entrepreneurs, that's what an entrepreneur is. You jump off a cliff and you build the parachute along the way, right? It's kind of like that idea.
That is 100% absolutely true. The the power of ask is harder. Like when you say those two things, imperfect action, I am like a master at. I mean, it's
Love that.
yeah. When I keep up the old videos of my first lives, like when I got on Facebook from, I don't know, was it 14, 16, however many years ago it was. And when I did the first live, they are so bad, like so bad that I share it with my clients. And I was like, listen, I know what you're experiencing, going through. And like, look, I'm going to keep this up to show you that it's the reps. It's just like in speaking, it's the reps. And if you don't put in the reps, you actually won't get the opportunity. So you've got to go through this, what I call 8-year-old ugly. It's like, it's before you had the straightener and you got freckles and your teeth are crooked and your eyebrows are wonky and you're like, why would our parents let us look like that? Like, yeah, you're so cute and precious and whatever. But we're going through a wonky stage, not because we're ugly, but because it's an ugly transition, just like the caterpillar and the butterfly. It's ugly, it's slimy, it's messy. It's like, but man, our ego does not want to go through that. It's like we're self-preserving, but then your wings don't get strong. Like it's worth the ugly.
It is.
I believe it's worth the ugly. What do you believe?
1,000% worth the ugly. Yes, I love it.
Yeah, it's that like you got to show up in where you are. Like if you hadn't peeled yourself off of the floor,
Mm.
that like I do know how to do this. Aside from what others think about women in construction or my age, those are the obstacles you had, wouldn't you say? Like that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, those are definitely some of the top ones that took me years to work through. And they've only
Okay.
made me more resilient in every other thing that I have fear of or question in my life. So,
It actually frustrates me when I think about this because Julia from Seinfeld has a podcast. Have you heard it? Wiser Than Me? And she
no, I need to check it
brings,
out.
you need to check it out. She brings on women like Jane Fonda. So
Oh,
like older, powerful, but like sharing that experience of how they got there. And several of the conversations were about just women and aging and the looks and like not wanting to be on camera. Like, oh, I'm not so perfect anymore. So
mhm.
now I can't get the part. I can't, I can't be on the I need to be behind the scenes. I should, that kind of stuff. And I was like, this makes me so mad. You're young and amazing and vibrant and flawless. Well, there's a problem with that. And now you've done all these things. You're powerful within your own right. What there's a problem with that too. For God's sakes, like there's always going to be a problem. We got to just do it. So, but
Yeah.
just you saying that, I'm remembering I was in my 20s whenever I started my business, when I opened the doors to the business brick and mortar. And so it's like, but when I track the whole entire thing, opening multiple locations, hiring people, like all that stuff was there. I don't think men experience this the way that we do.
No. And it's a different experience for every person, right? I forget the quote of there's this quote that shows all the different ages of people, like the founder of KFC and Vera Wang and what age she was when she made her first dress. Some people are fortunate in the sense of you just took that action early on in your 20s, right? And that's what's also made you just so continued your success till now. And then there are some people who don't even start till 45 or 50. And then look how far they make it, right?
It's crazy.
So it's like, stop trying to put the period sign, the dot on your story before you've even tried writing the next chapter. Like, you just have to give yourself permission to look and stare at that blank page and be okay with it, even though I have a thought, an idea of how I want chapter 36 to 37 to go. Maybe I'll get some of the things that I'm shooting for. Maybe I won't, but maybe other things that are better that I didn't even realize I needed will come into play anyway. And
Mhm.
so it's just like being okay with your experience and your timeline. It's just going to be different. And that should be okay, because you're not in a rat race to win against your best friend or the other female speaker next to you. Like, there truly is room for all of us, because we're supposed to be igniting, well, at least in like the industry that I'm in, I want to inspire and ignite people's passion. It's going to look different how I show up than how you show up. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to impact more or less. It just means I'm impacting in my own way.
I love this. Yeah. So my new agenda is new rules. Because we have all these rules, these hidden, right? So if you're too young, if you're too old, if you're too skinny, if you're too like this too-ness. So my new rule is no more TOOs. Just to
Yeah.
there's no, like, over. That's a new rule. When I hear myself say it, when I hear myself thinking it, like it's it's out of my vocabulary. Like it's just over. I don't want I don't want to relate to it in that way at all. And the overnight success that we see on displayed on social media over and over and over is just an accumulation of all of the attempts, feels, and fears and failures. Like that, the
Yeah.
overnight success is just an accumulation. But if you're not taking any action, if you're not taking the first step, if you're not making the decision, if you're not committing, you never get to the overnight success, which is 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 years. I mean, there is no overnight success,
Nope.
you know. Um, Even if someone would to literally do it in 24 hours or 12 hours, they're coming back down, boom. This is just the law. It's
This is,
just how
I
it is.
love that you mentioned that, because again, I won't drop names either, but there are a few of the, famous influencers on TikTok that found the success really, really quick. And they shot up to where the stars are at their level. And I was watching an interview with one of them recently, right? Because I always love to study, right? It's a lot of the younger minds, they're the next generation that are also coming in, that are going to help this world. And so I'm watching the interview, and the whole talk, what summarized down to this one thing that I realized: this person wasn't ready for it,
Mhm.
mindset wise. All the backlash, all the people that would give her negative feedback about her, the death threats because other people were jealous, the just all the stuff that came with it, the family dynamics, and how it hurt and tore some of the family apart. Again, this goes back to, even when you think you want that overnight success, you're never going to be able to escape the fact that you need time to build who you are and have a toolbox to get your mindset right so that you can handle the success that's inevitably going to come your way if you just keep on working at it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not going to escape the human condition.
Yeah.
And if you're not prepared for the next level of yourself, you're not going to have a place to land, which is the topic of what we're doing right now, right? It's like the 7-figure mindset has to match. So the success mindset has to match the success, the equivalency, whether your success is in dollars or
Mm-hmm.
attention. I don't think it's different.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like there's a correlation there, right? Because the more people you impact, the oh wow, look at that, the more success that comes with it because you're reaching more people, which
Yeah.
comes back to showing up for yourself, which also comes back to taking that imperfect action and moving through that negative self-talk and that fear and that imposter syndrome.
Mhm. I mean, there's just money follows attention. Success follows attention. You can't like it. You're never going to be able to get to any of that attainment without people. You have to get the attention, and I think it's the thing we're so afraid of. And I don't know if anyone, and I'll just speak for myself here, and you can add to it, but I don't think anyone thinks as terrible a thoughts as I could do to myself.
That's the most unfortunate thing, and it's so relatable though. It's so true. We are our worst critic. And sometimes I think that's a good thing if you use it to fuel yourself, but it's not a bad thing. I mean, but it is a bad thing when that's the thing, when you realize you're the only one holding yourself back from your next level of happiness.
Well,
Right?
and something happens after 50. So wait for it. You run out of bucks, like you just do.
I
You're just,
love that. I
you
feel
like
like
I
I'm
have
on
this
the verge.
bucket that's like empty. It's just like ran out, flipped, like you're just gone. Something happens.
I
The repetition of
love
experience, the rebellion, something. I don't know what it is. I love speaking. That's why I like Julie's podcast, because there is something that happens that maybe it's recognizing that time is limited because you've gotten on the other side and you don't have time for that. Like, why? Why do I want to give this attention? You've got enough wisdom and you hopefully a place to fall into who you are. There's that ground, like, okay, I've been here long enough to know that ain't changing. I've been here long enough to, right, that there's some things that are not worthy of this attention. They're not, I just don't want to excuse it, relate to it at all. It's just like close the door. And there's also something that I came to recognize about memories. They're the only things that can hurt me. There's nothing else that can hurt me.
Yeah.
Like, really think about this. What stops us moving forward? The older we get, the layers
What's
of
happened in our
experience.
past?
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, so there's something that happens in this shift or this awakening of that recognition and realization that there's an earning or something. So I'm really excited to see where because you're already like
I know.
super powerful and empowered and so it's like, and I was pretty bold and outspoken, did a lot of courageous things, but it is so different now. It
And it
doesn't
will
have that
continue to be.
it doesn't have that. And I think it's the moment of recognition with nothing you can say to me or about me is as bad as what I've said to and about.
Yes. Yeah. And I just don't believe it. I just love myself so much that I just know that that's not true.
Yeah. Like
And
oh,
that
I
that's okay.
recognize that. I used to say that to myself, and even that didn't stop me. Good luck.
I love it.
There's
I,
just some anyway. That
I'm right there with you. I mean, even 36, I'm feeling even 40 coming up already. And this last 6 months, probably, I have really been great about stepping into the don't really give a crap what you say. Like,
see, it might not be the years on the calendar. It might be the years and the days of doing.
Oh, I love that. And that resonates with me because I don't want to wait until I'm 40
50
to
and
stop
not
caring.
give a
Yeah, to stop caring about what other people think of me, because that was actually a really big issue I had growing up. Was people used to always say, "Oh, well, you're so conceited because you talk about going to modeling classes or something," and it's like, no, it's just
no,
what
it's
I'm
a
doing. But no one else was doing it, so they were like, "Oh, you're trying to show off." And it's so funny how those things that happen to us when we're younger kind of stick with us. And I love that I've broken that, and I love that I could talk about it and just have compassion for the little girl that I used to be, and not wanting to, oh, well, I don't want to outshine you, or I don't want to do this. And then realizing when you get in the room with people like that were in the room with us at the Great American Speak Off, no one's trying to pull each other down. Everyone's only trying to lift each other up. Those are the rooms that I continue to be in. And I didn't have that when I was growing up. And so it's good. That's what motivates me and my why, to be the person that creates the rooms that make people feel like they're included and they're not
Mhm.
crazy for having these big audacious goals.
No matter
And
what the age,
no matter
no matter
what
what
they
the
know.
experience. Some it was their very first time. Y'all were braver than me. I did not go for the competition. I just VIP'd all the way to the back of the room. Like I sat in the front of the room and I just got to listen to the feedback. It's like, I want to enjoy my time here.
Yeah, no, it was a great experience, and
You're
we have
amazing.
something to learn. We have something to learn from everybody. Actually, what's interesting is a lot of my best and greatest friends, they're 10 to 15 years older than me.
I have no
And
doubt. I have no doubt because you think in that way. And that's what I'm saying. It's, because I never want to minimize, like, and say, oh, it's kind of like whenever you're, like pregnant or married and someone's like, oh, just wait. And they give you all the bad news. Like I'm
yeah,
anti that. So I don't want the 50 thing to come across that way. I've just had this conversation with a lot of people.
yeah,
And I really think there's something that happens, but you just brought up an interesting another point to look at it. So someone who could be 60 but never took risk is not going to even be able to relate to what we're saying, to what you're saying.
exactly.
So I'm curious to talk to you in 12 years.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And that's the other beautiful part, is what I do today is going to impact who I become in 10 years from now. Because what if I just stopped? Oh, this is enough. I've made it. I'm good.
No, you're ruined for life,
Or
Dawn.
I
That's
can't
over.
know. Oh, believe me, that would never happen. But I'm just saying, like, our everyday decisions really, yeah, it's dependent on who 5 year, 40-year-old Amber is going to be, right? 60-year-old Kim is going to be. And let me tell you, especially going back to the conversation about being women and this ageism conversation, let me tell you what, being a person that's had a near death experience before, I think that's one thing that helped me also, to that, like you said, that idea of like time, not to waste time. That's really impactful. But also, I just don't ever want to live with regret ever. Right. And I just don't ever want to be that person that, oh, well, another year and I'm starting to get wrinkles over here. There are people that pray, they're in their deathbed right now praying they make it to 45,
Yeah.
and they can't see another day because of an illness or something happens, or an accident or something like that. So it's like, I just really am promising myself that, and I started this probably back when I was like 34. Every single year, I just want to celebrate it. I don't want to feel like, oh, well, will anyone want to hear me talk whenever I'm in my 60s? Like, no, this is where we get to create the space for women, for
Mm.
people, for men and women at any age, to step into their uniqueness and to step into their power. And this is who I always want to be moving forward, because every day is a gift, truly. And you know that, right? I was talking to someone today. She was talking about problems, and I had coached her before, and she was like, yeah, and these issues came up, and my other business I'm starting. And I said, and she was like, yeah, but I'm starting not to feel good. And I said, we will all always feel like we have hundreds of problems every day until our health goes out, then we have one.
Yep. That's right.
We're,
That you're
we're
100%
here
right.
today. We're both healthy. Yes, I have a little bit of a cough, but I'm here and I'm feeling good. So it's like, just keep taking care of yourself. That means your mindset too.
I think you're onto something with it. We have so much in common because whenever we first talked, we were like, "Oh, your mom was like my age, and I had you, and you and my son are the same age." And we had like these connecting moments. But since we're talking, like I lived in Marietta, Georgia, right after high school. It's like that
What?
was
I did not
yeah.
know this. That is
Instead
so
of
neat.
going on a class trip, yep, that's where I went and looking for work. I needed a job. And I am also a cosmetologist since 1997, 94, since 1994. So hair, makeup, traveled, weddings, spray tan, like all of those things. I'm in the hair salon, like I'm sitting, this is the room that was hair, nails, and tanning. So that was interesting. And the near-death experience at a younger age. Like, so we might be onto something here about, just kind of putting the pieces together about some of the experiences, because when you face
Mm.
mortality, sorry, morality too. Um,
Yeah.
when you face mortality, when you come close to death, it
Mm.
does something. I'm like, this is langyap. You're from the South. Do you know what langyap is? I just realized most people don't.
No, I've never heard of that.
LAGNAIPPE, langyap,
What is this?
the bonus. It's the extra. It's the cherry and Cool Whip. It's langyap.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's New Orleans slang, you can say. You can
Mhm.
look it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so langyap is like the extra, like this is langyap because I would have been dead. Like, so anything that happened after that moment is like just bonus. And I think there's something that happens here. And it's kind of like when my one of my changing moments. So I did my sick talk last week. I went to Milwaukee. Again, proving that if you have something valuable enough, anyone will come to meet you, even in Milwaukee, where they have emus in the elevators, like crazy stuff. And it was a moment across this wall where I was doing a friend's nails. I'd been doing her nails for 8 years, and she was diagnosed with cancer. And she was telling me about it. Like she picks this pretty pink polish. It's like she just needed something happy and joyful that day because the diagnosis and the prognosis was so gloomy. And while she's thinking about her nail polish, I'm thinking about all the things she didn't get to do, all the things she fought for financially, all the things she couldn't get with her. Like I am just like in a whole nother world of this, again, facing mortality. Like, is this it? Wait, you're just going to spend your whole life wanting and never having and then do what? No way. No way. No way. Like I put my hand down, I look up and I'm like looking at the heavens, and I was like, I'm not doing anything else that's not fun.
Yeah,
Over.
100%.
Done. I had spent all these years sick and surgeries and diagnoses and medications and fighting and struggling to make it like done.
Yeah.
I did not sign up for this. Maybe I did. I changed my mind. New rule.
I love that new role. And you know what? You're giving me, so I'm working on my second book and you're giving me so much inspiration for it. I just want to acknowledge you because this conversation and your presence is just so beautiful. And I love a lot of the commonalities, but more important, I love that I like when we met, we were just like automatically just like became friends. And you're an inspiration. You really are. And I love what you're doing. And I love that you have this platform to have conversations like this because you talking about, oh, if only I had, the self-development stuff when I was younger. If only I could be a fly on the wall for conversations like this when I was younger.
Mhm.
I was like the black sheep of the family. And it feels so beautiful to have conversations with people like you on this level and feel that sense of belonging
Mm,
in a community, right? I feel like that's all we really all want and search for at the end of the day is to
mm,
feel the value we have and to know that the things we continue to think in our mind about what we want to do in the world and this and that, to know that we're not alone in dreaming that big. And spaces like this give space for it. So
ah,
thank you.
I like to say a room where it's not only success is not only celebrated, it's expected.
Yeah.
Where it's not having to dim the light or be that, like, because you're going to modeling classes or, whatever. For me, it was in sixth grade when I won the art contest. And
Mhm.
my friend, they didn't want to come to recess to play with me because I won. Like, I was like, oh, it is not safe to win, right? So it was like, can't do
Ooh.
anything good. Like, no, then I won't belong. I won't have anywhere to go. I'll be all alone, so it's like, I don't want to win. I don't want to stand out, and it's like that story being so real. So to be able to be, I say, on a platform or create your own dang stage, whatever it takes to express. I love Emerson's the self-reliant essay. There is a seed inside of each and every one of us that is meant for our harvest. No one else can harvest. No one can take it. No one can steal it. No one can mock it. No one else can connect it to that fruition or that monetization or that materialization, except for you. You leave it, it gets left behind. You don't take it from anyone else. No one else can take it for you. And in that essay, it says envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide.
Yeah.
Oh,
Imitation is because why would you?
there's no you. There's no,
Yeah.
you're being someone else. You're just doing creating knockoffs. So you're
Yep.
dead. Like it's over. And the envy is ignorance is like, it is ignorant to envy someone for having what you don't have because you can have it. It's ignorant for you to think you cannot have it.
Hmm.
It's in every single one of us. Why don't we get that? Why do you think only a small percentage get this? Is from the 1800s. This is free on YouTube.
I feel like, honestly, when you said that, the thing that came up for me, because I was that person a really long time ago. Like, I thank God that I learned it young, and whoever you believe in, but truly, it's like there are times I look back and I think, how did I figure that out? How did I know at the time that this was the right direction? And I look back and I was like, even though I was a scared little girl, I was daring as hell. And it feels so good to see that. But I feel like people don't allow themselves to fail. And that's why those
Mhm.
discoveries aren't happening, right? I have, people that I know that, family members and things like that that are older. And when I was really young, I got my tape recorder and I would interview like my grandma and different people about, because like my grandparents fought in, the World War, and like I just was like intrigued. I thought I was going to be a reporter when I was younger, right? And a singer and all these other things. And I realized that a lot of them would say that like it was just too scary, or no, what if I fall flat on my face? And to think that something like that can hold us back, it just blows my mind. At the end of the day, it's our choice. It's a decision we have to make, and we have to be okay with failing. That's one of the biggest things that keeps coming up for me, right?
You know what's the difference between now and then? And I think you said this too. You were scared, like you were just out there alone. You just like had to seek and find and listen to the voice and went, right? You didn't have any opposing forces.
Hmm.
Someone telling you can't, someone else not like, I'm not going to go with you if you don't go. You didn't have any, I didn't either.
Hmm.
And so I'm wondering, like, because what I call courage today actually wasn't courage. It was just a GP. It was just, I knew the God voice. Like it was just, this is God said to do it. I'm going to do it. Like, I don't know what this is going to look like. I open this business. I write, like there's scripture underneath the floor here. If you pull up the vinyl, there's scripture in cards in the walls, like where they were putting the plugins. I was just like, I don't know. I'm like Job here. I don't know what the hell we're doing out here across from a crawfish lake in front of a hayfield. Like what, like spending all of this money. And I just knew I had to do it. I find it's harder to take those risks now because I have so much more experience where I didn't have it back then. It was that voice is the only thing that led and I just did it. Never really thought about it. Never really, we didn't have all this online stuff and,
Yeah.
what we have today. And I didn't have all these experiences of what felt like being stabbed in the back and being put, like, oh my God, the whole, what people come at you for whatever, all of that stuff. Like, I can't say that like, hey, I just don't care because that's not true. I care a lot, which is why I've had to like put this Teflon on and like be a force that can't be screwed with,
Mhm.
because of that. So I'm curious for you, what was it a voice that led you? Was it a knowing? Was it a guidance? Was there a light? Like what, where was the source of that courage? Because I can't personally take credit for it because it wasn't like today when I wake up, I get myself back in belief every single morning because it's back to a one. I'm like, there is like a belief sucker in my dream at night, pulls
I
it away from me.
yeah, I love this question, and I love that I feel like we're going so much deeper than just the like, what's the top tip for, for success or something like that. There's a quote I want to preface it with though before I answer your question, and it's from the Mexican proverb that to me all makes sense of all the darkness I went through, and that is they tried to bury us. They didn't realize we were seeds.
Mm,
And
that's
so visualize you're this seed in the ground and someone is packing dirt on top of you and it's pure darkness and it's just you. And as the seasons change, the rainfall comes and you start to emerge from the ground that is. I don't know how, I can't tell you how I got through a lot of the things I did, especially when I was younger, because it could have gone a really different way for me. I mean, the town that I grew up in, yeah, I lived in an area where, there were drug dealers that would ride bicycles and I'd be like, hey, what's up? Like I knew them because they were like my neighbors. Okay. And something in me always told me though that I needed to get out, that I needed to, like, I was big on writing. Um, Journaling helped me a lot during that time. And for some reason, I'd always have what I now call an intuition. I didn't know what it was back then. Don't go to that party, Amber. All your friends are doing this, and that seems cool. But the last time you did that, something scared you in that situation. You don't want to feel that again. Try to do something different. And so to me, it was just this guiding force that I can't really explain. Um, I know everyone has different beliefs, but for me, as a Christian, I honestly feel like it's a God thing. It's a God thing. It wasn't me. I'm just grateful enough to say, wow, thanks for helping me realize it back then because that could have taken a really different turn. And yeah, it feels nice to still have that, and it's building up better now. I used to not really listen to my intuition, and then I thought, the times that I didn't, that bad thing happened. And now it's like, okay, I gotta just keep on realizing that I do know something in me knows, and that's how I make a lot of my decisions. A lot of them are just those gut decisions.
hmm I consider it grace because I would have gotten myself in so many bad situations. I wanted to belong so bad. I didn't care where, what, I mean, I'm in an AA meeting, like I am an alcoholic. My dad said, you're not an alcoholic. You're a drunk. You just have a purpose when you drink. I was like, oh, but I'm like, I just want to belong anywhere. I put myself in so many situations that could have gone so badly, but I consider it God's grace. Like that's, I didn't get accepted in some of the places. I didn't get the thing that I wanted. I didn't get the guy that I wanted. I didn't get the job that I wanted. Had I gotten a job, I would have been a Eucharistic minister if the Catholic Church would have had a problem with me. Like I would have been a great employee if I could have found a job or got someone, but they didn't. I was a little lost kid, so no one would give me a chance. Now I can look at all of that as grace. Like it was just survival that led me to the freedom. And then I went through the whole phase of like having shame about this connection because then I was like the weirdo and the woo and I didn't recognize it until years later how I actually was turning it off and trying to do the whole business front thing. And then I
Yeah,
got super depressed. I was no longer connected, no
because you
longer
weren't
like
aligned.
that's right. But I didn't, all of that came after until I was like, oh, wait a minute. Actually, the thing people are looking for is to get closer to God. What am I doing? Because someone shamed me about that inner knowing, about that connection. So full circle, crazy stuff. Okay, I'm looking at the time. I got you way over time. Are you
Yeah.
okay? Because I
Oh,
didn't
I'm
ask my
totally.
question for you.
Yeah, no, feel free to ask the next question. I just want to say one quick thing on that I think is very important for people to hear. Don't be afraid of your evolution. I think that holds us back so much. You could have been someone that had something that happened and you weren't spiritual, and then now you are, and now you're afraid to expose who you are in that process. And like you said, when you don't live in alignment, that's when everything else just falls apart. you got to step into who you are. There is another person that understands you and gets you and will welcome you with open arms. So don't be afraid to be who you are now, even if it's completely different than who you were 5 years ago. Because guess what? That's supposed to happen. It's called evolving.
This is true. Ah, all right. I have a question for you. I have two, but let me see if I'm going to ask them both. We might have covered one of them.
Okay.
Where's my notes? I'm not a note taker or a scripted person, by the way, but I did these for someone else. Oh, yeah, I will ask you both of them. And so the first one is, how will you know you've made it? Like, how will you know you've arrived? Like business, speaking, like of what, and I know that what you think at this time right now is going to be different, but in this moment where you are, like, how will you know I did the big thing? What's the big thing?
Oh, this is good. First of all, it's two quick parts. One, be okay with knowing that, like you said, it's going to look different in 5 years from now. There will be different arrival times. But right now, for me, I feel like I've arrived, and I'm talking present tense because I have this is how I've been feeling. Even though I know I have a long way to go, I feel a certain type of way in a positive way because what I'm doing energizes me to the max. I've arrived because the things that are work, I could literally be on a flight, have a 12-hour flight day, have 5 hours of sleep, be on stage for 6, travel again, come back, get up early, work all day, and I still have time to go take my dog to the dog park, and life just feels so good. It energizes you.
So you'll know you arrived
You know
by
you
the way you
arrived.
feel without the struggle, having the flow.
You're good. Yeah, you're in flow, and it's not going to be every day, but you're going to just know you're doing what you're meant to because it energizes you. It doesn't suck the energy out of you.
Isn't that a great thought? I have arrived. This is it. Ah,
Yeah,
for this moment.
for this moment. Yeah, yeah. Till I'm evolving more. But yeah.
Yeah, that for sure. Like there was a time where I was like trying to always jump and get there and get there and get there. And then I don't know if you've experienced this. There's a huge disappointment on the other side when you do that. It's like losing the 30 pounds to go to the beach. Like, oh,
But then you
like
realize you hadn't
grinding.
been to the beach in 5 years, and you're like, well, everyone else was having those fun experiences all that time. And you
Yeah.
missed out because you were waiting for the moment when the moment is the journey to get to the moment.
My favorite phrase is, I'm willing to be surprised by what else is possible that my mind has yet to imagine or experience. That
Ooh,
came through journaling one day, and I have it on my mug. I have it in, like, it's everywhere. It's like my stamp, and it opens me to what I haven't imagined. Like it opens me to futuristic anything, but I'm willing to be surprised. Like I'm not gonna like it. My thinking is so limited. But if I'm
mm.
willing to be surprised by what else, I get to experience all these things I hadn't even considered before. So love that. Okay, here's the question. If you were to write a statement to go in a time capsule to be found by a family member 3 generations from now, what would you want them to know about your mission and legacy? Like she was the one who did, or she was the one who believed.
This is the most cool, most powerful question ever.
Thank you.
I love that. And I'm genuinely thinking of like 3 generations away. I think the thing I would say and put in that time capsule is this. I think I'd write in there, you are enough now to
Mm.
create to create the impact you feel you're meant to make. Because too often we're like, oh, well, if I want to be a coach, I need one more certification. I need to do one more thing. I need to learn one more thing.
But
I was capable 3 years ago to help people, and I couldn't see it because I needed this other thing, and I needed someone to validate that I'm professional enough now. You just got to be 2 steps ahead of that person that is where you want to be. And that could be in anything, in any industry, in any point of your life. You're enough now. to help someone.
I love that. I was going to ask you to repeat it, but you did. Because I did while you were saying it. So for those who don't have the video, I probably cut your voice out. So you said, you're enough now to create the impact
That you desire to make.
that you desire to make. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Is there anything that you wanted to mention or that I didn't ask you that you wanted to share that's just kind of sitting there on the edge and you're like, man, I wish you would have asked me
I feel like we covered so much. And for anyone out there that's listening, I think the only thing that I'd like to kind of wrap up with probably is actually that ask yourself that same question that Kim just asked me, right? Think of 3 generations later, except I would change the question for you is who do you want to be known as?
that.
And let that be the driving factor for how you're moving in the world.
Yeah.
Because we want to be proud of this footprint, right? That we leave, this mark that we leave on the world.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
So
that legacy. That's that, like, what is the seed? Like, if it's different for each of us.
ask yourself that question, really, and really think about it. I would even say go as far as to journal about it. Because once you start to get your inner deepest thoughts, those things that maybe you feel too shy to tell someone else on paper, then you begin to realize maybe you're not living up to that potential right now and you need to be. How can you show up every single day to create that person?
Yeah. Did you say who do you want to be remembered as? Is that how you
Mhm.
worded it? Yeah, I just added it to into my question.
I love that.
Because it was she was the one who did or believed. And what do you want them to know about like your mission on earth, your time on earth, and your legacy, which is the what do you be remembered as? But I like defining what that word means. It
Mhm.
feels different,
Yeah.
feels simpler and um almost more contemplative than like legacy could be thrown around a bit.
Yeah. And kind of like mindset, right?
Oh,
Okay, but what's the tangible way to think about it?
do you know that this show was called More Than Mindset?
Yeah.
Still a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I'm saying it's and that's why I think it's beautiful that to have the conversations in this because then people begin to realize what that is in the first place. Like you said, kind of like legacy. It's like who do you want to be known as? What do you want to be known for? Right? Are people going to look back and say, because people will maybe will forget what you created, how much money you made, but they're not going to ever forget how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
And that's part of it.
All right, Amber, thank you for coming on, for having this conversation. Hopefully we'll see each other again at an event somewhere. So I'll be following you. And
We definitely
so
will.
Amber is on, you're pretty big on Instagram compared to Facebook, huh? Are you more on Instagram?
Yeah, I'm definitely more on Instagram, and it's just my name at Amber Ybarra. That's AmberYbarra.
And we're
Go
gonna,
follow me there.
yeah,
Would love to see you.
we'll have a link for you down here to click on and they can find you. I'm sure you have ways that they can connect with you, see where you're speaking at, where you're engaging, what you're doing. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And feel free to DM me. I love connecting with people. And I am all over the country and even next month, all over the world. I'm going to Portugal for a bit to be in EU. And I just love connecting
I was
with,
gonna
with
say, what's your thing this year? Like, what is your focus for the year, this year in particular, that we
yeah.
just stepped into?
Yeah. My focus is consistency. Like that's my word under the vision board that I have for myself. Last year was connection. And I was traveling 3 weeks out of the year. And it was a lot. And this year, I'm so focused on showing up more online and creating more things to help more people. And so staying consistent in that work is all I'm focused on this year when it comes to my coaching and my speaking.
Would you suggest that for others? Because I kind of, it changes, but this year I'm really, like last year, my word was focus.
Ooh.
And this
Yeah.
year, my word is refine. And so it's like, I have a lot of content out there. I've got years of all this, but now I want to like the package for it. It's like I want to really take what was most important and, not so much. It's like I want to cut the fat. I want to cut all the words. I got this at that speak off too. I was like, can we all just agree that it was rough up until now? And what did you do with it? Like, can we just cut? I know story is important. There's almost a competition for how bad it was, like,
Yeah.
what now? I just want to know, but what did you do with it?
Yeah.
What did it bring to you? What did it awaken you to? What now?
No. Yeah,
Mm.
I think that's important. And to be honest, I even do a check-in every quarter, 6 months in. It's like, cool. I've been consistent. Is this working for me? How does this word for my year feel? And sometimes it changes, and sometimes it's the same. And if I don't get it right one year, then maybe it's still on my board for next year, right? That's the funny part is we keep wanting to put these boxes and check marks around these things when like there is no rule book for this. We get to make it up as we go.
Those dang rules, man.
Those dang new rules,
New
like you
rules.
said.
Hashtag new rules. I say
Hash-
this every day. Hashtag, oh, there's another one. Hashtag new rule.
love
All right. Thank you, Amber. Appreciate you coming on. So let me go ahead
them.
and stop the